Once upon a time, in a certain town, there lived a merchant named Shivasharanudu. He was a man who valued helping others more than gaining profit in business. He was a kind-hearted man who respected holy men and never sent guests away empty-handed. He was very generous. Because of these good qualities, however, all his wealth slowly disappeared, and he began facing many difficulties. Still, he never changed his ways. One day, some holy men came to Shivasharanudu's house. Though he had little left, he welcomed them warmly and treated them with as much hospitality as he could. One of the sages among them noticed Shivasharanudu's poor condition. As they were leaving, the sage called him aside and said, "My son, your righteousness is admirable. I had come once before when you were wealthy, and you treated me with the same respect as you do now, even in poverty. Go to the Shiva temple and chant the name of Lord Shiva. You will find good fortune." Hearing this, Shivasharanudu was deeply moved and curious. One day, without telling anyone, he went to the Shiva temple outside the town. The temple was dirty, so he cleaned it, purified himself, and sat down in meditation, chanting Lord Shiva's name. He became so absorbed in devotion that he forgot food, drink, even bathing, and completely forgot his wife and children. For 40 days and 40 nights he remained in deep meditation. On the 40th day, something miraculous happened. Brilliant rays of light emerged from the Shiva lingam, and a divine voice spoke from it. Shivasharanudu joined his hands in reverence and stood before it. The voice said, "Son Shivasharanudu, I am pleased with your steadfast devotion. I will show you a way to regain your lost wealth. Listen carefully. Go and bathe in the river, then, still wearing your wet clothes, return home through your main door. At that very moment, a beggar will arrive at your doorstep. Take a heavy wooden staff and strike him once on the head. He will fall dead. When you touch his head, he will turn into gold. Thus, your poverty will end." Shivasharanudu obeyed the divine command. He bathed, returned home in wet clothes, and just then a beggar arrived. Following Shiva's instruction, he struck the beggar's head with a heavy staff. The beggar fell down dead. When Shivasharanudu touched his head, to his amazement, the beggar turned into solid gold. From then on, his poverty ended, and he lived as before, helping others and continuing his charitable deeds. No one could understand how Shivasharanudu suddenly became wealthy again. But there was one man who knew the whole truth, the barber, Buddinayi. Every day, Buddinayi would visit Shivasharanudu's house to shave him. One day, when Shivasharanudu was not at home, Buddinayi searched for him and eventually found him at the temple, absorbed in Shiva's name. From then on, Buddinayi secretly followed him and watched everything, how Shivasharanudu bathed in the river, returned in wet clothes, struck the beggar with a staff, and how the beggar turned into gold. Greedy thoughts arose in Buddinayi's mind. He thought, "I too can become rich in the same way." So he also went to the temple, meditated for a while, then bathed in the river and returned home with wet clothes. He had already kept a heavy staff ready near his door. Soon a beggar arrived at his house. Without hesitation, Buddinayi struck the beggar's head with the staff. The beggar's head split open, blood flowed like a river, and his brains spilled out. The beggar collapsed and died. Buddinayi rushed forward and touched his head, expecting him to turn into gold. But nothing happened. Meanwhile, royal guards who had been watching from a distance ran forward. Seeing the dead beggar and Buddinayi holding the staff, they immediately arrested him. They took him before the king on charges of murder. Buddinayi pleaded, saying he had not killed deliberately, and explained that Shivasharanudu too had done the same, and had become wealthy, but the king refused to believe him. Budinayi was sentenced to death by hanging. Thus the greedy barber met his deserved fate. Moral: one should never covet the wealth of others. Greed leads only to destruction.